how we can find the question in this part. Question number 1. We need to find each of the following trigonometric ratios. Suppose that we have a triangle PRQ, the right angle triangle at R, and we need to find sine Q, cosine Q, tan Q, sine P, cosine P, and tan P. So how we can solve? At the first I will start with Q. The side which opposite to Q, which is RP. So RP will be the opposite. And RQ will be the adjacent. Because you know that QP will be the hypotenuse. So again we can revise. We know that sine is equals to the opposite over the hypotenuse. And the cosine is equal to the adjacent over the hypotenuse. Tan, which equals to the opposite over the adjacent. So how we can solve this one? At the first, for sine Q, the opposite, which is 8, over the hypotenuse, which is 17. And 8 over 17, the fraction in the simplest form. Now we need to find Q. Q, which is the adjacent over the hypotenuse, so it will be 15 over 17. Tan, which is equal to the opposite over the adjacent. The opposite, which is 8, over the adjacent, which is 15. So it will be 8 over 15. Now we need to find sine P, cosine P, and tan P. So now the side which opposite to the angle P is RQ. So that will be the opposite. Remember when I solved for Q, I said that RP is called the opposite. Now I'm solving for P. So RQ will be the opposite. And RP will be the adjacent. And the hypotenuse will be the same, because the hypotenuse, which is the side which is opposite to the right angle. So now we need to find sine. Sine P, which is the opposite over the hypotenuse. So it will be 15 over 17. Cosine P, which is the adjacent over the hypotenuse, so it will be 8 over 17. If you need to find tan B, it would be the opposite over the adjacent, so it will be 15 over 8. If you look at the answer that we have, you will find that sine Q is equal to cosine P, 8 over 17 and 8 over 17. And you will find that cosine Q is equal to sine P, 15 over 17 and 15 over 17. So we have a relation between angle P and angle Q. Angle P plus angle Q is equals to 90 degrees. And we have that sine P is equals cosine Q. And we have cosine P is equals sine Q. Now if I need to find Q, how I can find Q? Q is equals to 90 minus P. So instead of Q, I will replace it with P. So it will be 90 minus P. And instead of Q, I will replace it with 90 minus P. So we can say that sine P is equals cosine 90 minus P. Cosine P is equal to sine 90 minus P. And that is the formula that we need to know. That sine X is equals cosine 90 minus X. And the cosine X is equal to sine 90 minus X.